Hello, my name is Ethan, and welcome back to another episode of Path of Exile Heist League 3.12. In this episode, we're going to be going over how we're developing our next expansion differently. This isn't, we obviously, it's not us, it's not me, I'm not a part of GGG. I'm just the guy who's going to do this, thing where I read this out to people, and they enjoy the the audio book of me reading this. So I'd like to quickly explain before, so obviously the title already knows what the article is, and I already know what it is because I read this on stream, and the way I read it on stream was shit because I was playing and I didn't actually tap into this post, so now I'm going to do it right for you guys. So I'd like to quickly say that we know that the next expansion is an Atlas expansion, like War of Conquerors. I will talk about this more after. If you want my opinion right now, I'm so fucking excited. The reason I'm really excited is Atlas expansion is the one part of the game where I really feel like I haven't explored enough. I've done deep delving, 1500. I've done every single boss, deep blight, good character, everything. Farmed absolutely everything. The only thing I really haven't farmed is the Atlas. I started with the Atlas because that's how everybody starts, but then it felt much more natural because we got things like Blight League and all these other, and Simulacrum and things where you could just take the thing and play it, and you never had to map, and you didn't have to worry about sextants, and you didn't have to worry about conquerors or any of that shit, random occurrences, constantly keeping up with the maintenance or any of that. So I wonder how they're going to change Atlas stuff in the future, because this doesn't come with just an Atlas expansion. I like to remind you guys, I didn't make a video, but for anyone who doesn't know, Harvest is going core. Somewhat. Parts of Harvest. So they're taking some of it and then making it in the next expansion. So we have a large December expansion with the Atlas and Harvest. So this is a huge expansion. Okay, we thought Heist was big. I'm telling you, this one's going to be fucking nice. And it says that this is only 50% of the overall development hours of Heist, which means they're really efficient this season with their changes. Very efficient. It's going to cause a lot of it's going to gain us a lot of time of playtime probably, and testing and trying and shit, and it's going to be really polished and amazing, and it took them less time, so that's awesome. Now we'll read the whole post. Just that was the TLDR for anyone who came because of the title and really wanted to just know that part, in my opinion. I'm really excited for the Atlas expansion. I feel like I need to get into the Atlas more, and now this gives me an excuse for the rest of this season to say, I don't need to get into the Atlas. That's next season, guys. Hilarious. I fucking love this game. Woo! It's almost like it was on this direction since I started it, and it's fucking amazing. And it's made for the people who just recently started playing and all the new people coming, to be honest, which is really nice. It gets us into the game because obviously people who have been playing for 5 years already know the whole game, but it gets the new people into the old shit. Because mapping's like the original, but it's so old for us. From Path of Exile's release in 2013 until late 2015, we struggled. One more thing. Technically, I think the Delirium League was supposed to be the league that I got into the Atlas, but the performance was so bad, it was so laggy, that I couldn't play Delirium for an entire month. And even after the month, I was like, I just don't want to play it now. It's kind of ruined for me, and I just haven't really gotten back into Delirium. So maybe with this Atlas expansion, it will be the thing that gets me back into the Atlas, and then that will be rewarding and be cool and new, and people will want to watch it. So that's awesome. Anyways, now we'll get into the audiobook, finally. From Path of Exile's release in 2013 until late 2015, we struggled to grow the community and were getting worried as the game's popularity started to slowly decline. We tried releases of many different sizes and cadences before eventually settling into a 13-week cycle with the launch of Talisman in December 2015. Since then, we have developed 19 leagues with this cadence and had a lot of success with it. Path of Exile grew exponentially and allowed us to put even more content into each expansion to meet the expectations of our growing community. I even presented a GDC talk on this process, which was very well received within the game dev industry. I still receive mail every week from developers at other studios who feel that the talk was of great value for their teams. Things were going well, and we thought we knew exactly what we were doing. I laughed on stream when I was reading this because there's like a jump. 2015's fucking great. 2020 hit and exposed just how vulnerable our development process was to unexpected events. To some extent, we were lucky that a black swan event such as we were lucky that it hadn't. Such as a key team member leaving hadn't caused similar disruption to our schedule before this. We want to preface this by saying that the government-mandated lockdowns were not the root cause of the issues, but they had a significant impact and added to an already high-pressure situation. Due to the way we've been developing expansions, we had almost no wiggle room to manage the additional overheads of lockdowns. And so, yeah, honestly, every single little thing matters. You won't say one thing caused everything. It's always a lot of things, and they add up, and there can be like the one that kind of dominoes, but to really figure it out is usually like post going through it. I honestly feel like when you're developing and shit, I feel like you'd have fog of war in a sense. You don't know what's gonna happen. You can't plan everything. You can plan stuff, but then it turns out that sometimes your plan automatically led to a place that you couldn't have foreseen without actually taking the plan, and then you learn from it. So it's fine. And there's tons of other shit that happened, and honestly, I cut them some slack. So now there's a reasonable chance that we may experience another lockdown or some other unforeseen event that adds extra pressure, and we need to create a development plan that has enough breathing room to allow that to happen. So this is great. It basically sounds like they were not preppers. They had no prep for any catastrophe to happen, and they're lucky. They were saying that this bad thing, the worst thing, didn't happen. It could have been worse. They only had this problem, and they still got it out, and it's still okay, and we're all able to play the game, and it's fine. And so now they want to work in some prep, so they're trying to have some extra food and supplies ready, but not in the sense of for their company being prepared if they have to do stuff like this again. So unforeseen, that adds pressure. We need to create a development plan that has enough breathing room to allow that to happen. After 2 lockdowns, we delayed Heist release by a week, and it was still not enough to mitigate the combination of constrained resources and ambitious development scope. As Heist was by far the highest content league in PoE's history. Bad timing. Adding to this pressure, our country's borders are closed, which means our international hiring is frozen for the foreseeable future. So this part was explained to me, that they can't have like interns, they can't do anything. It really screwed them up. Like, imagine they get all this money and they try to plan out the biggest league, and as they're planning out the biggest league, they need to hire and they can't. Well, then they can't just put out some of it that works. We saw what happens when you're missing so much of the heist. It really wasn't the heist after. It was just, it's odd when you're missing each component. It had to all be done right and put together into this big picture that we were sold in the trailers, and that was the big problem. And so honestly, it was just expectation versus what they could actually deliver. Yeah, which leads to the next issue. Regardless of how difficult pandemic pressures make development, it's genuinely hard to scope out how long a Path of Exile expansion will take to develop. Some systems that appear easy to create end up taking several iterations to get right. Conversely, some things that felt like they'd be really hard just come together quickly and work the first time. Usually these over and underestimates average out during the development of an expansion, but sometimes you get ones that are developed a lot faster, Legion, and some that are slower than usual, like Delve. If you categorize Path of Exile releases into the good and bad ones, you see a clear pattern of times when development took less or more time than expected. This shows that correct scoping and risk mitigation is critical to ensuring a good Path of Exile launch. So yeah, you would have had to simplify the heist mechanic and then make sure that no matter what, even if some of the parts aren't completed, that it still works as a whole. So you create a good core that's simple and build upon it, and each thing is a feature added on top, not you needing all of it to come together perfectly and then that is the heist. Like, whew, that's a hard one to sell. You're creating a fucking vision and on top of the gameplay. And anyways, another important topic to discuss is that of feature creep. This is when the feature set of a piece of software gradually increases over time as developers think of more cool stuff to add, eventually causing production problems. This is a somewhat common problem in software development. For example, there's a boss in Diablo 2 called Creeping Feature as a nod to this over 20 years ago. While feature creep sounds like a terrible thing, it can often be great for making a game feel special. A lot of the stuff that makes Path of Exile special was added because a developer thought of something cool and worked hard to squeeze it in a special release. While feature creep can wreak havoc on a schedule and hence the overall quality of an expansion at launch, it's also important to make sure that the developers have a way to still add those special touches that make the game feel like it has endless stuff to discover. We feel that this is best done in the planning phase rather than in late development when such changes can affect the quality of release. Yep. Late in Heist development cycle, we had a serious internal discussion about how we could restructure our development process so that subsequent expansions are less risky. This discussion resulted in an experiment that we decided to carry out for the next 3-month cycle. That's where we're leading to the Atlas expansion, where they're going really safe and cool, and I think everyone's going to love it. We've defined a very specific scope for December's 3.13 expansion. It contains everything that a large Path of Exile expansion needs, but no more. I'm personally handling the production of this expansion, so this is Chris Wilson, to make sure that no work creeps in that isn't in the planned scope. The schedule that we will hopefully achieve with this approach will likely have everything quite playable and ready for gameplay iteration before our marketing deadline, and in a very stable, polished state by the time it is released. GG, easy, next league, nothing to worry about, guys. Performance, servers, fucking the gameplay, balance. You can bet your ass that our shit's already, like, the stuff that's popular is already nerfed. So Carry On Golem's probably dead. Yep. I don't know. I don't want to, like, just cause drama, but, like, it kind of feels like they're telling us that they've already had this shit planned. So basically this post, by the way, gives me the idea that I could start planning next season's build, and they're not going to adapt the patch to what we plan, which is really nice. So we know for a fact that we're not creating the next patch of, like, what they're going to nerf. So anything I do to my build too is, like, post-patch probably. Unless it's game breaking and they have to patch it. Yeah. Anyways. Okay. So the positive consequences of this experiment are clear. If it succeeds, we'll be able to deliver 3.13 on time. No, that part is obvious. It's going to be on time. With a strong, stable launches, we don't know yet. Plenty of gameplay iteration. That sounds like it's already guaranteed too. Solid testing of features. That sounds guaranteed too. So we don't know about the strong, stable launch. I guess based on the other three being so strong, it's almost guaranteed it's going to be the best it can possibly be. Like, if anything goes wrong, it's not because it was destined to be bad because of the other shit they did. It was just unfortunate stuff that happens on release. Not okay. Anyways. Shit they couldn't have expected. If this experiment works as we expect to, we'll be able to continue using it for future expansions, which will allow us to continue with our 13-week expansion cycle. So this is pretty much how it should have been before, and Heist should have never happened the way it did. Not being tested, we were the beta testers. It was really weird. They tried it. People were pissed. They want a polished game. Which we strongly feel is best for the continued growth and long-term health of Path of Exile in the period before Path of Exile 2 is released. Yeah. This experiment comes with some side effects, however. You'll definitely notice that the patch notes are much, much shorter than they usually are. That's because we're focusing on getting the most important changes done and doing them well. Right, this part I already read before, and this was what I was mentioning. It's like, well, they already have them. The patch notes are done. They're planned. They already made them, dude. And he's trying to fit them down. Look, the most important changes done, doing them well, aiming for us to try to fit the patch notes on just a few pages if we can manage it. This does mean that we have had to be careful to pick our battles, though. The balance changes we are doing have been carefully chosen to have the largest impact. This sounds like cluster jewels. Right? Fix real problems. Auras. Aura stacking. Cluster jewels. Stacking cluster jewel auras. real problems. Guys, they already know. It's not, it shouldn't be carry-on golems, by the way, because it's not a real problem. It's just popular because it's a fun build, okay? And they hate fun, and that's why they'll destroy it. But anyways, it's also likely that we'll front-load the announcement to have more of the expansion contents revealed at once, reducing the number of small teasers we post in the weeks following announcement. So you see that they're changing it also. Remember last season was like, oh no, spoilers, how dare you? And now this season, they're telling you straight up, we think it's going to be better to spoil it so you guys can enjoy fucking planning and not coming in goddamn blind and getting absolutely mollywopped by the patch. And yup, making it more fair and giving content creators some more time to actually create some content and plan some shit, and communities to come together around the new stuff without even being able to play with it yet. It's pretty cool. Thank you. I like this change. I wanted more leaks, more stuff known, because it's not like it changes it. We still can't play with it. It's just theory until it's actually tangible. It also allows them to technically hear some feedback in case something is completely fucking broken. We can tell them before it's released, and they could change it. It's not released yet, technically. If people are that smart and can come out and give the exact reasons and math and all that of why shit isn't going to be balanced on release by like a huge amount, so it breaks the whole game, that would be great, you know? Our goal is that 3.13 takes 50% of the overall development hours of Heist, which means going from a situation with overtime to a situation with testing time, and yet feels like a large December expansion. If you're interested, it's an Atlas expansion, like War of Conquerors, with an in-area combat league and a few other bits and pieces. What is in-area combat league? Wait, that almost sounds like some like Coliseum of waves of monsters, but like bosses. Maybe you go fight a combat league kind of. Oh, is that just, wait, is that to reference the name? In-area combat would be the name, and then league. In-area combat, and they call it Atlas expansion, an in-area combat. So like Coliseum, Arena, but for an Atlas, and the other one was called War of Conquerors. Wait, so do we lose Conquerors? We'll also be announcing it in a slightly different way than we usually do. Stay tuned. Thanks, Chris. I love this post. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this audiobook with the little extra doodads of stuff that I throw in there on my thoughts. These like always, they're my thoughts. You guys can voice your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank my Patreon and my YouTube members who financially support the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for all the support. And thank you to anyone new who joins the Patreon or the YouTube members today. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!